In case you're wondering, yes, I am going to see Deadpool and Wolverine a few hours at the time when I'm recording this video, but I did finally catch up on Cobra Kai Season 6, Part 1, so let's. So Cobra Kai, as you know, is a continuation of the Karate Kid movies. It follows Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence. They both have their own dojos, but have since merged together to go against a common enemy. They defeated those common enemies in the previous seasons, and now they are working together to train their students and enter them in this big tournament that will be in Barcelona called the Zakai Taikai, whatever, however you pronounce it. And there is seemingly peace in the All Valley at the moment. John Kreese has escaped jail. He has gone overseas and reunited with the evil Asian lady from the previous season to continue Cobra Kai and enter him into the big tournament that Miyagi-Do will be a part of. Like I said, Cobra Kai is a continuation of the Karate Kid movies. There's some Karate Kid movies I like, some Karate Kid movies I thought were okay at best. But I really love Cobra Kai because to me it is a masterclass on how to continue a franchise and use nostalgia right. And yeah, it can get soap opera-ish at times that people are saying. It can even get a bit melodramatic and over the top with its karate action at times. But that's part of the charm of the show. And it also gets by because of how it is also a masterclass on how to progress legacy characters and give us new characters. And like I said, there's peace in the All Valley. Everybody's getting along. Everybody is working together. All the kids are getting along. Robbie and Miguel, they're like brothers now. Tori and Sam, there was some tension between the two of them at first because of all the history together, but they have worked things out. But there are also things about this season that I thought kind of reverted back to previous seasons. Now, just because there is peace between all the characters on the show, there's still that thing of competitiveness because, like I said, everybody's in the karate and they're trying to enter this tournament, and that's one thing you can never defeat is competitiveness because there's definitely competitiveness because on the show there can only be 6 slots and 1 leader, which I will say the 1 leader rule, I felt that was kind of dumb, or I just feel like that was the writer's way of trying to write in some tension between the two characters that have made peace with each other, particularly Robbie and Miguel and Sam and Tori. But I also like how this show kind of flips the script on Miyagi because now Daniel LaRusso and his wife, they've discovered this box that has some secrets about Mr. Miyagi that they didn't even know, and that kind of throws Daniel LaRusso off balance a little bit to the point where it causes friction between him and Johnny Lawrence, which I thought was a little derivative at this point. In fact, at the end of the season, they get into it because they feel like they're two ideals on how to do karate and how to teach just don't match with each other, that after the tournament they're like, all right, let's part ways. Now whether or not they follow up on that later on in the season, we shall see. Like I said, the whole leader thing, I felt like that was just manufactured trauma. Though I do like how even after Miguel and Robbie fight and Robbie becomes the male captain of the team, they're able to still respect one another. But again, we still got the rest of the season left. Now, I do like how we get more of Chosen, but he's used at a minimal, at least for this first part, particularly between him and Johnny Lawrence. I do like that they brought Mike Barnes back so that Johnny and Daniel, they can have an unbiased opinion as to who are the 6 people they choose to bring into the tournament. I also like how he still has his demons to deal with, in that how having karate back in his life has set something off on him and he even has to apologize. Leads to a fight between him and Johnny, which I did not expect. This was definitely a parent I did not expect to see, but at the same time, I can see as fan service because they are both villains within the Karate Kid movies, or was villains at a point. Though I will say this was a point in the show I'm like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. Y'all just doing karate out in the open and just watching 2 relatively old men try to perform these moves on each other. Hey, they still got it. Don't get me wrong. I do like everything between Hulk and Dimitri. I like the whole thing of like the two of them were set on going to MIT together, but then Hulk realizes that there's a whole other world outside of MIT and that he may want to go somewhere else. And then once he does tell Dimitri, he's all mad, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to do everything together. Eventually, the two of you are just gonna have to split up and go do your own thing. And that has also culminated into the two of them. Though I don't quite like how Dimitri, he's kind of nerfed this season because initially he wasn't part of the 6, but then something happens where now he just kind of got shoehorned in. That's to see how Kenny has kind of grown up and is kind of trying to go on the right path, though he did have the funniest scene of the season where someone accidentally slipped him some laxatives, and then he's in the middle of a challenge, and then he has to forfeit because he has to run to the bathroom. Doing so, it has possibly reignited his rivalry with Anthony LaRusso, Daniel LaRusso's son, and right now Kenny still thinks that he did it, but it was actually somebody else, which I'll get into in one sec. But whether or not they're going to follow up on this, we shall see. Now, Devin, who is probably the one character who has a bit of a chip on her shoulder this season because she's kind of getting overlooked by Barnes because of the two other girls, Sam and Tori, and so she goes through some dirt. She does do some dirty tactics so that she's ensured a spot to the tournament. And she was the one that gave Kenny the laxatives so that she can get into the tournament. And whether or not she tells him, again, we'll have to see for the rest of the season. But I like how Johnny Lawrence is there for her and is kind of making him be a better person because, of course, Johnny Lawrence, it is revealed that his baby that is on the way is going to be a little girl. And so it's kind of good to see how he handles dealing with females versus boys, which he's been dealing with all his life. And I say it like this, like, having a boy, it makes you a better person, but having a girl, it makes you a better man. Sam and Tori, I mentioned they worked their things out, and now it comes to the fight where they fight for the female captain position, and then Tori, and shout out to Peyton List. This is probably some of the best acting she's done on this show, and I've also been a fan of her arc. I've gone from I don't know what to expect of her to hating her and then fall in love with her redemption, and then her and Sam, they finally work together in the last season, and then all that is undone when her mother dies, and now she's hit with a stroke of grief, and it's making her think irrational, and she thinks fighting is the only way that's gonna may help her get through it. And of course, Johnny is there with her because apparently that's how he got over his mother, which is not particularly healthy. And Daniel LaRusso and his wife Amanda, they want to stop the whole fight, but she's not having it. And so she goes off, and turns out she has joined Kreese at his Cobra Kai dojo from overseas. And yeah, that was definitely a 180 for me, and we'll have to see how that plays out. I said, Kreese, he is working with the evil Asian lady from the previous season, and why he is still around, I don't know, but hopefully we'll get a real and definitive resolution to this character in the next two parts. Honestly, that's where I'm at with this season because I feel like this season kind of undoes some things, and also it's just kind of the weakest of the series as far as story goes. But again, this is just the first part of this season, and we still got two more parts to go. And so hopefully all this will make sense. And for what we saw at the end of the last episode of this first part is that they are now at the tournament. And this could go either one or two ways. Either throughout these next two parts, it's just going to be non-linear storytelling, and the next episodes to come within the next two parts are going to fill in resolutions that we have not gotten yet. And it's going to go back and forth between what happened after that, after episode 5 in the tournament, or maybe this could be it. Maybe the second part is just going to focus all on the tournament, and then part 3 is going to be the aftermath, and they will finally have a definitive end to not only Cobra Kai but the Karate Kid series. But until we get part 2 and 3, I'm going to hold off on rating the season as a whole because I want to judge it fairly. I want to judge all 3 parts all together. Then I can make a real assessment on how I feel about this season as a whole. And so that's how you can see I just put a question mark over the rating system. So that's where I'm at with Cobra Kai season 6 right now. And that's how I feel about part 1 of the season.